So, AMV is the greatest archive anyone could ever ask for.
Of all the books I've read, of all the other online tutorials,
No, Mike, Cameron says. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Mike. I actually activated the mic there, so I don't know what happened. But anyway, hello, and welcome. Welcome to another edition of AMB Animation Livestream. So, what are we going to be doing today? We are going to be actually doing a bit of concept art because if you subscribe to me on YouTube, or if you're watching this from my live section, I have currently released a video, a normal video on YouTube, not a live stream, where we're promoting the Gracie Goodbear thriller dance project. But actually, I've got more plans for Gracie besides her just doing the thriller dance and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to be sharing with you how just my process of creating a bit of concept art for a project, and that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing a bit of concept art, and also we're going to be looking at some of the work that has been posted in the Real Animator Growth Development and Progress section of the Facebook group, the global Facebook community. So that's what we're going to be doing. We've had some posts in there, so that's awesome. We have got some people in the chat. We have got Cameron Allen Davidson Black. Nice to see you. I'll take a look at some of your drawings today in the review portion of the stream. We've also got Michael Kilner Davies. Hey, Michael, how are you? Actually, depending on the way this goes, both of you may be in for some work, depending on how this goes in terms of the donations, because I know that Michael is a stalwart cleanup artist of mine that I use, and he's contacted me requiring because he's probably seen the Gracie ad and he knows that there may be some work. for him. I don't know if it's because of that, but yes, Michael, thanks for letting me know you're available. Depending on the size of the donations that we receive for this project, I'll be looking to utilize you with helping out with the thriller stuff, and possibly Cameron as well, because I think Cameron's quite capable of in-betweening some of that stuff, or cleaning it up and in-betweening it. So we'll see. We've also got the amazing Charlene Giles on stream. Hi, Charlene. I absolutely loved the work that you've posted on Instagram, and I'm really loving how you're starting to do proper storytelling and staging. And you know, even in that brief clip, I could see that you were really establishing personality between the two different age groups of those kids in there. I was quite impressed by that, Charlene. You're amazing as well. You certainly are. And if at all, somehow, I think Charlene's actually capable of doing a little bit of assisting on some AMB projects as well. I'm looking to, obviously you can see with the recent donation thing, my donation thing is just my version of Patreon. So you've got plenty of people out there that are doing Patreon. I don't like to be told about the kind of content that I'm creating, on what's suitable or what's not. And I also don't like to have to go through a middleman. So if you want to help me out, there's no Patreon, there's just a donation link, and we're currently testing out Gracie Goodbear for that. So that's what all this little chit chat is about between us Real Animator people. Somebody actually contacted me saying they want to be part of the Real Animator team, and I replied to them, well, thank you, but presently the Real Animator team is, if it is, you know, if funds go ahead, will consist of Real Animator Training Library members, people who have worked through my system, trained under me through my training library, because you guys understand what's expected of you and the kind of work, my way of working. So it just makes perfect sense, and this is leading towards the vision that I had 7 years ago or 8 years ago when I started building the training library, is to get some of you guys up to level, and then hopefully expanding and utilizing you, and pushing hand-drawn animation to the forefront again with people who are passionate about doing it and creating it. So yeah, it's quite bright. We've already received a number of donations, and some reoccurring monthly donations from some very generous people. So it looks like Gracie Goodbear is making a what's the word? Making a connection with some of you guys. So that's absolutely fantastic. All right, now that's enough chit chat. Now, we've got two mics on at the moment, so hopefully you're just going to be hearing this mic. Let me just bring it up a little bit so it's a little clearer. If there are any issues with the audio, please do let me know. We will also be very briefly looking at, excuse me, some of your work, some of the training library members' work in the Real Animator Growth, Development and Progress group. We're going to be giving some, thank you, Cameron. We're going to be giving some feedback there from some of you people. So that's great. But we're going to begin with some artwork. So you'll know from the Gracie Goodbear video that I posted that I'm currently getting donations to finish the thriller animation. You see, I've kind of started blocking out the next scene here, but we're not going to be doing that on this. We're going to be whetting people's appetites for the possibilities of Gracie Goodbear beyond a thriller dance. So beyond doing all this, you know, let me just scrub through so people watching will kind of see what it is we're doing. So we've got a lot here. So I've been kind of animating this on my own, and you can see this section is rough and needing in between, so obviously I'm not gonna do that myself with depending on the donations. I mean, if the donations are scarce, then I'll have to, but I mean the intention is to involve some of the training library members, so hopefully the way things are going we may be able to do that. So here again, this is another rough scene. So I would probably let Michael handle this scene because it requires a little bit more work. And I think a scene like this, I'd give Cameron a shot at, possibly, or this one, possibly Michael. Um, but this one, yeah, for sure, I would give to the likes of Cameron to do. So yeah, this, I mean, it's all just me, just sharing what my intentions are with you at the moment. I mean, here I would ask Cameron to tidy that up with the you know, could probably do that myself with the eraser tool, you know. So a lot of this stuff I've been working clean straight though. So a lot of this stuff I've just been kind of doing clean and straight without even testing it, to be honest with you, because it's just something. It's good. It's great animation actually. It's not good. It's great, but it could be better. I mean, there are things that could be refined, but I'm just animating clean straight to just get through it, you know. We could do better with the follow through and overlap and other stuff, but it's good enough to just knock out. You know, it's better than most things out there, so I'm quite happy to go clean straight with it. But anyway, so that's what we're doing with this at the moment. So my next thing is the whole concept of this project. Culture Sean, culture Sean, or culture scene art. Stay where you are, all right, because I'm going to be visiting the group later on, and I think you posted something in there, so I'll be taking a look at the work that you posted. So Gracie Goodbear is a girl, fun-loving girl who she likes cosplay, right? She likes to cosplay, but the thing about Gracie is she doesn't know imagination from reality, right? And sometimes her cosplay fantasy world catches up with her, and she manifests things. Um, they could be good and they could be bad, like fire-breathing dragons, for example. So this piece of concept art I've got in my head, I'm kind of like, it's just in my head right now, and I'm kind of like thinking I've got Gracie here as like a damsel in distress princess, right? With a fire-breathing dragon, right? So in my head, I've got this idea of something, and we're gonna create this image. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna create this piece of concept art, purely from my imagination, and a little bit of costume referencing. A little bit of costume referencing for Gracie in her princess outfit. So I'm thinking something like this. I'm thinking something like this. So that would be a nice image actually. So that's the kind of image that I'm thinking that we want to be creating today. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is really kind of come up with interesting shapes that that I feel kind of like suggest what the what'll make a nice image actually. So I'm gonna make it like a kind of lizard inspired thing. So I've got a skull here, and we've got like a, now I don't know which hand. I could do it with this hand, right? Could do it with this hand. which could make it a little bit more interesting. I originally had it with the other hand, but if I've got it with this hand, I don't want to ruin the silhouette, but I might put his other hand in there, right? Or I might put his other hand around her, but that might take away his silhouette, right? I did envisage seeing his thumb and his fingers like that, but I don't know. I'm kind of like thinking it might be better this way now. So I'm going to kind of put something like that in there. And then maybe he'll have some wings, right? Then we've got to kind of, we're making him more gargoyle-like than with that. So that would be his latissimus dorsi. I may want to just create, although Gracie will be tiny if I draw the whole thing, but I may just start, just to get a feel of the character, I may start just throwing in some other things in there like that, right? So I'm designing this dragon. I mean, Gracie's already pretty much designed, right? I'm designing this gargoyle type creature. So maybe he's turned from a dragon into a gargoyle. I don't know why I'm getting the predator in my head. I'm getting like dreadlocks. Don't know why I'm kind of getting dreadlocks in my head, but this is an idea that is just kind of, so this is coming purely from my imagination, just feeling my way around it, right? And before I'm really trying to get any anatomy in there, the anatomy that is coming in there is just subconscious, but I'm really thinking more about interesting shapes, right? I'm not caring too much about, of course, Gracie is gonna be in a, maybe we'll have her hips here and her shoulders here. And Gracie's gonna be smiling. Her hair can be blowing in the wind. I want it to be like a kind of pulp fantasy art, you know, a little bit racy. Gracie is racy, but not too, not offensive. Not offensive. Just fun. Good, clean fun, so to speak. All right, I'm kind of liking that actually. That's kind of an interesting image. I'm gonna draw the whole thing. I mean, we could like have castle ruins around and everything, and then Gracie becomes tiny in there, and it could be a big painting or something later on that we could do. But that's where we are at the moment. Okay, now I'm gonna go in there and I'm going to start to really, let's go back, really define some of these shapes. Right. And we'll talk about the anatomy of these shapes. So Cameron, this is kind of like partly what I'd like you to consider doing with your works. Like, obviously nothing has a harsh edge like that, right? When we're doing life drawing, but I want you to start getting more graphic with your shapes. So I'm gonna get graphic with this shape here and graphic with this shape here, but and here, but I'm gonna go back, right? I'm gonna go back, and we're gonna, so this is where his latissimus dorsi will be connecting to his pelvis and his chest will be here with his serratus and abs, but we'll work all that out later. I'm getting fiddly. We can think about his other leg, right? Or maybe just put a little bit of his other foot there like that. So already I'm really thinking about the silhouette, right? So when I'm doing the hand, I'm going to create this web here because this is where the metacarpals are, right? And then we've got like the thumb here, right? We're going to really play with those fingers, right? Then we're going to start. I'm doing all this drawing of the hand, right? Without even intending to fit it in the screen. But I'm just like I'm having fun, right? So then here I'm gonna figure out his wings. I may need to refer what folded wings look like on a bat to get this right? Because, or actually, like, so I've got to think about the anatomy here because I'm just going to put the wing in there, but it's not going to be right because I don't want the wings to just sit lazily out his back like that, right? I know that there are plenty of fantasy designs that do that, but I'm wanting kind of like something a bit better than that, right? So I'm going to play with the occipital portion of the skull like that. Then we got the zygomatic like this. So I'm not going to put the eye in as of yet. Then we've got the jaw, which is here, right? Which comes down off the side like that. That's pretty good. The hair and stuff I'll have to think about, but I'm still wanting that kind of Predator dreadlock vibe. So I'll have to look at the Predator, but I'm not looking at anything at the moment, right? Now, Cameron, pay attention. And anybody else who wants to be able to draw well. Look at this portion of the knee here. So I'm going to come in with this tail, right? No, I'm not going to do that to the tail, right? I'm going to come in with this tail, and I'm going to bring it in line with the leg like that, right? And everything will be just really harmonious with it like that. You see how easily we start getting nice appealing shapes. Now we're starting to get to the Gracie Goodbear section. So this hand has to be done well. So I'm gonna do the knuckles, right? The first and the thumb knuckle I'm gonna do there. That's where the skin will web. And then we're gonna throw in the other knuckles, right? Like that. And then we're going to have the hand come there like this, and the other hand come there like that. Okay. So that is currently, I'm going to put a little eye there. That is currently what we want with the dragon, right? Currently where I'm at with the dragon. Right, let's see if there's anything going on in the chat. Nothing as of yet. I will be switching over to look at some work, some group work in a minute. But before I do that, I'm going to continue with the Gracie part of the pose now. So I will do her in a different color, right? So I'm going to play the whole hip and shoulder portion. So I'm going to imagine her legs inside like that, and the usual kind of feminine pose going on here. So she's gonna very much Princess Daphne, but I'm gonna put her in a bit more of a costume than Princess Daphne, because Princess Daphne is one of my favorite characters, don't get me wrong, and I love the female form, as you can see with Gracie Goodbear, but I feel that we're gonna do a princess, we need to have some kind of princessy type. We can still give the character sex appeal, but I want something a little bit more princessy and medieval inspired costume that'll go in there, right? So possibly this position here. Now I'm gonna have her hair blowing in the wind. So I'm gonna come and refine this now. So I will just create a shape like this. This is the top, this is the bottom, this is where the leg is too large there. I'll probably have to hide her feet. The arm will be there like this. We want the drawing to be integrated, right? That's a problem that AI art has at the moment, is the integration. Now she's gonna be loving this guy, right? She's not gonna be. She's with her everything's fun, right? Everything's fun with Gracie, right? So my thoughts on this, even though I don't even have an idea for this particular story, is there's some problem like a toothache or a thorn in its foot, the old story, and Gracie helps him, and then suddenly he becomes her best friend. You know, it's more like that than something sinister. It's a very fun project. All right, so let's just flip that over. So we have got a concept image that works. Actually, I'm gonna come out with this one a little bit more. This concept image works as it's a mid shot, or it's actually still a close-up because his head and shoulders are in the shot for the ochre, but it's very much a wide shot for Gracie. But it works like that, but it also works and can potentially be a really nice piece of artwork. We can have like medieval pillars and castle ruins and things in the background that make it interesting. So all these various ideas are starting to come together, and you can see how we can get something even before it's been designed, even before any design or drawing. Yes, there looks to be some design there, but as you can see, I didn't really think too much about design. I just drew the top of what was in my head, but you can see the secret science of shape simplification, which is what we teach in real animator training, really taking place here, really kind of helping with the composition, helping with the shapes, the appeal factor. So two of the great animation laws that are occurring here is the law of appeal and exaggeration, right? Is it 2 or 1? R's or G's, I don't remember, right? So the law of appeal and the law of exaggeration, those are what I'm utilizing here via shapes. Right, now, before we continue with that drawing, which will double up as concept art. By the way, I'm going to keep saying it, so if it annoys you, it annoys you, but it also helps keep these things going, particularly this project. This is what this project is all about. There's a link in the chat and a link in the description. If you are enjoying the Gracie Goodbear project that I'm doing at the moment, which this drawing is very much a part of, and you would like to see it expanded and see more of it, then please do drop a donation in the description below. If you don't care about the Gracie Goodbear project, but you still want to support me, then please do drop a donation in the description below. It is all gonna be utilized towards AMB animation projects, Gracie Goodbear and beyond. All right, so now let me now go and change into this our global Facebook community, AMB Animation, Real Animator Growth, Development and Progress. We already have 4,100 members in this group. If you would like to be a part of it, it's very easy. You simply apply to join it on Facebook. It costs you nothing, but you have to answer a few questions to prove you're not a bot, basically. All right, so the first one I'm going to look at is from my friend here, who was actually the first ever Real Animator Training Library member. I'm not going to mention his name. Now, he's been on a various journey, so he says here, like, you know, why is he doing basics if he's just the first ever Real Animator Training Library member? Well, you know, he kind of says, I'm breaking a long self-imposed vow of silence to make this post. No, I'm not going to talk about that. He basically is, he's donated to the Gracie Goodbear, and I'm really grateful, and he's basically saying how I'm a great mentor and I'll go down in history, and it's very kind of him. And thank you so much. Reading that really got me to my core. I'm being very serious. I do get a lot of love. With 80k subscribers, you can't not. And I get donations, and it's very it's very I'm very grateful for that. But sometimes, like, reading what you've written here, you know, it really means a lot, because I haven't, you know, I don't think I've ever read anything about that, about me, like that before. It's not Eugimation the Man, Akao. It's not Eugimation the Man. He wasn't the very first. He wasn't the very first training library member. Maybe he was, actually. A couple of people joined on the same day, so I'm not sure. But this fellow, I tend to think of him as being the first, but you could be right, because Eugimation was pretty much there as well. And both this guy and Eugimation have been in tremendous support of me. They've actually bought multiple library memberships for, you know, because they want to use it, give it to somebody else who's their friend or whatever. And I'm saying, look, just use your account. I don't care. But you know, I'm very grateful to Eugimation too. So thanks for reminding me about Eugimation. Now, the anonymous participant says I can name him, but I'm going to keep him anonymous, because I just feel that that's what I'm going to do, because that's what he's put in his name there, right? So we have got, I'm going to skip what he says about me, because it's very moving, and thank you very much. But he hasn't actually explained why he's been away, but I know why he's been away. I know why he's been away, and Real Animator Training is very much a journey of the self. Wanting to be an artist and an animator is very much a journey of the self, as well as it is a practical journey. So everybody gets places in their own time and is ready to do things in their own time. So, okay, let's just, I've told him that I can't really look at these as GIFs. He needs to post videos so I can slow them down, but because these are the very first few basic exercises, I can sort of eyeball and see what's going on. So this looks to be a Facebook video. I can't frame by frame it, but this is pretty good. I'm not really going to say much about that. That looks pretty much to the way that it's done in the test. So I'm going to leave that. This one, I feel that the squash could possibly be pushed a little bit more here. We definitely feel the spring up, and I definitely feel the stretch, but I'm not feeling the squash as much. And that's what we teach in real animator training. It's like we need to feel it rather than see it. Squash and stretch. So right from the get-go at the beginning. So these aren't GIFs. These are actually videos. I found the control on my big Cintiq here, but on my phone where I watched these, I couldn't see that. So sorry, Mr. Anonymous Participant. I thought that you posted GIFs, but still the YouTube videos I'll be able to frame by frame them. So I can't do that on Facebook. But I think part of the reason is no error on your part because you've used an extremely fat scribbly line in places. The subtlety of the squash, which is a subtle squash, even the way I teach it, is kind of getting lost there. So again, I don't really think you've done anything wrong there. That's pretty much to the jumping ball exercise. This is the weighted drop. Pretty much there. Yeah, the stagger, maybe I created this exercise over 8 years ago. So maybe I'm looking at it thinking I would do it differently slightly now, but everything's there that needs to be there. I think that's pretty much how I teach it. I know that you've got a very good eye. So I can also tell that you would have followed me pretty religiously. I trust that as well. I know enough about this person to know that. I think they're quite a good draftsperson. Okay, so this is the gentler bounce. Again, honestly, I don't really have anything much to say about that. Just keep doing it. You're clearly learning about halves and thirds, and I think you understand that, and I think you've done those exercises before, and this is kind of a refresher for you. I'm going to come on to this one in a minute, Da Vinci Clements, but he has posted another one somewhere. He's posted a walk cycle. I think he may have deleted it. I think he may have deleted the walk cycle. He posted a walk cycle in its early stages, and again, I can't see the post here, but I read it. It's too early for me to comment, and you did, it's not timed and it's moving quickly because it's the keys and you haven't shot each key long enough. But the whole problem with trying to develop and grow is you're trying to control everything along the way. We have expectations of what we should be, and we're very self-critical. But one of the things I've noticed, even with myself, as I've been doing this, even as a professional and an educator in my later years, is everything happens gradually, and if you let it happen and remain positive in the work that you're doing and stop saying things like, I forgot you used the word, like you used a kind of offensive word about your own work when it came to the head. I can't find the post here, but I don't think it matters because, it's like doing, I know that you also gym, anonymous participant. I know that you also gym, and you will know, like any growing of muscle, and Aka will back me up on this, that you got to do your form will only get good with experience. And sometimes to try and do strict form from the very beginning when you have no strength, you're actually hindering your process. You should have a bit of fun, have a bit of fun, allow things to grow, feel yourself getting stronger, and then align and correct yourself. It isn't about developing bad habits when you're following the right trainer. I'll give you a brief example and then I'll move on. I had a relative that for the new year came to me and said, I want to get in shape. So I said, let's do some push-ups. So on the first day of the year, we did push-ups together. And I busted out 100 and he busted out something like 15. But all of his 15, his ass was in the air and his head was, and he was like terrible form. And my wife said to me afterwards, he didn't do a single one correctly. And I said, that doesn't matter. I've told him to do it every day for January. And after January, he reported to me in February, at the beginning of February, and he pulled out 20 push-ups and his form wasn't perfect, but it was infinitely better, and he was going down and going up, and you could see that he developed strength, right? So as long as he's being guided, then I could talk to him a little bit about form because he had developed a little bit of strength to understand. Whereas if you can't even do a good one with no form, the motivation, the encouragement, the self-loathing just kicks in and inhibits everything. So don't care too much. Care but not too much. Care but not too much. Because you care too much, it's like walking on eggshells, or you're gonna break one. You will, even if you care too much, right? Just go with it. All right, so I can't find that post. I think you may have got rid of it, but anyway, welcome back to the training, and fantastic start. I look forward to seeing more. Now, Da Vinci Clements, this is a repost because the original did not export correctly. I can't help but saying I get such a kick out of this whenever I look in this group and I see people working hard at these exercises. It just makes me think that everything that I've been doing has been really worthwhile, especially when the exercises are good. I feel as though some things are off, but I'll improve as I progress. It took me a while to finish because of procrastination. The important thing is you finished. The important thing is you finished, right? It isn't about the procrastination. Again, throw that to one side. The important thing is you finished, and and I like that. You didn't say, I might improve or I guess I'll improve. You just said, I'll improve as I progress. That's a good attitude, right? So let's have a look at this. I think this might be Culture Shown Arts. I'm not sure. You can correct me if I'm wrong. All right. Yes, it is. Culture San Art. I don't know why I'm getting Sean in my head when I read that. Many apologies. All right, let's have a look. This is fantastic. I absolutely love it. It's clean. It's on volume. Let's put this on a loop. It's to volume. You've done a really good job. I can feel the shifting weight in the pelvis. It all feels like the pelvis and the upper torso are twisting and turning together. There's a good punch in the arms. The hang time in the air is good. It feels pretty much as my test. It feels... Now, what could happen is if we start frame by framing it, right? I don't mind his neck telescoping here because we get a little bit of squash and stretch and drag in there. But then, here the neck telescopes a little bit, right? The neck placement in terms of volume telescopes and becomes fatter and thinner a little bit there. So it's mainly the head where a lot of people have issues with with this. But don't worry, you're going to be doing a big close-up of this head, doing a head turn. I honestly don't think there's anything anything wrong with this. It's I would say it's 90 to 95% to the exercise. I would score that a 9.5 or a 10 even. So while there are things with it, this is the basics archive, and it's a really good representation, a recreation of the exercise. Yeah, not really anything to worry about there. Just move on to the next exercise. Don't take the wind out of your sails and say a couple of things wrong with it. Sometimes, you know, I'm not saying don't be modest or don't be whatever. If you really think there's a couple of things wrong with it, then yeah, there's a couple of things wrong with it. We just saw the neck is getting fatter and thinner and longer. But sometimes there's a culture, because of the way we've been raised, to just say it's not perfect. You know, there's a couple of things off about it, but you know, I'll get there. Fact of the matter is, that's a damn good exercise, my friend. You did a really good job. Well done. That's what it is. Let's slightly engineer the dial on the attitude there. It's not about being conceited or arrogant. It's about getting the wind in your sails to move confidently onto the next exercise. Well done. So, Cameron, I'm not going to say too much here about this. Just the same kind of thing that I was doing with this drawing. So you see, I'm kind of doing the harsh curves and straights and seeing where the tail lines up with the leg. So similarly, if we look here, his hat going through to his back, right? All as one line, curve straight, curve straight. Slow down a little bit. Now, Cameron, I know that you can copy very well. Why do I know that? Because I'm going to come down here and we're going to look at Cameron's version of the dog, right? He's drawn that on paper, and that looks like that's on model, which is why I think, Cameron, you're ready to clean up and in between some of my work. I'm not sure about clean up, but you're ready to in between some of my work because you can draw on model, right? You may be like still developing your drawing skills with your life drawing, and you know you got a fair way to go there. But suddenly when you go into like copying and cartooning, your drawing is pretty decent, right? It's so here. If we look at this, you could say, well, you do still need work when it comes to the anatomy stuff, but when it comes to copying, get out. Sorry, when it comes to copy, don't know why the sound is playing. When it comes to copying, I know that you can do it. So slow down on the face, right? Do a nice drawing. Do a nice drawing and really get those curves and straights. Don't be so much in a hurry anymore now, Cameron. I need you to slow down on these, right? This is good, right? But I want you to slow down, right? Is the guy on balance? Like here, we need a little bit more curve and straight. Really look and get it right. Take your time on these drawings rather than doing, I don't know, 10 drawings. Just do 2, right? Just do 2, because I just think now, Cameron, what it is I think you've been training and your hand-eye coordination's working it, but you're just now too used to just we need to slow down and get the draftsman out, the draftsman that I know is in there, right? Just slow down now, right? So here, so that's my advice to you, right? More like this, right? I want you, actually, I think you should not do these type of drawings anymore for at least a month or 2 months, right? Really be simple with the detail, and I want 2 months, Cameron. I know that Cameron listens to me, and that I'm very grateful, which is why I always give him my time. Just draw like this for 2 months, okay? just like I showed you here with these swooping lines and straights, this is the drawing that I like most, right? And what I would do with this one here, let me just, I would push it a little bit further. So the aim that you're going for is something like this, right? Right, we can come out the side there later on, but I want to see that continuation of that line, right? And this, right? And then for the other arm, you see how I'm joining it to the body there, right? This is like the whole connectivity thing. So the head comes here, and like from this head, I'm gonna put this here. Now you got a little bit of that going on there. You can throw that in there if you want, right? But then we're gonna come here like this, right? I'm just gonna come up. So I'm working from your drawing, right? And I'm not really sure what's happening with that other leg, right? But what I really want to see is what you're going to be doing, Cameron, is you have a ton of knowledge in your mind from the studies you've been doing, but you're also in the habit of copying like this and then changing it a little bit later, right? So we want to kind of change you into kind of like, okay, this, right? This is one continuous line like this, right? And then with your knowledge, you can come back here and then you'll start to draw the muscles. You'll start to draw the muscles like this as well. All of this little kind of suggestive kind of thing will go away. You'll really start to get confident, definite strokes. So all of that information, the thoracic gauge, that you all know, the scapula, the humerus, the radius, the ulna, all of that information you have, it ain't going anywhere. But when you draw, you're going to be drawing with a lot more command, right? You're going to be then utilizing that information, like the pelvis is there, right? You're going to be utilizing that information to start drawing. Actually, if it's a twisting thing, we'll have the pelvis here, right? A little bit. So you see how now I'm utilizing my stored information and I'm using these shapes, immediately these shapes, and that's what's going to suddenly transform everything you're doing into professional level stuff. So I really want you to focus on that, Cameron. I think, this is gonna help you a lot. All right. Theodore Milano. Let's have a look at this follow through and overlap and drag exercise that you have done from the intermediate archive. I really like this, Theodore. I can really see the growth, from your first few tests in the basic archive. I'm actually really, actually, I'm going to do a little thing here. I'm going to search in this group for Theodore. Yeah, that's it. Gonna search the group for his work. So look how your first few exercises looked when you joined, right? So to Anonymous Poster, Theodore started out working like this. Look at the proportions on the run cycle. right? Way off. I mean, his work is pretty good. He's getting the timing right and everything. But you can see he's struggling a little bit to get proportions, right? But he's actually got it, like it reminds me of Kevin Silver. He's got a great eye for the actual animation aspect. He's following the animation really nicely. So here's another one. And now, even on a simple flour sack, this is how he's drawing it, right? Come on. For some reason, this is, let's just refresh that. That's not playing for some reason. But I think I've kind of made my point. He's getting better hair. You see how this exercise helps him get better with volume, right? Getting better hair. So the journey is absolutely fantastic. I mean, this is an excellent recreation of the exercise. There's one major problem with it, which I'm going to outline in a minute. But I'm really, really happy to see that a lot of people who study real animator training really struggle with getting you see these appealing shapes of the folds and bends in the sack as it's turning, right? Even though they're copying from my video, they struggle because it's difficult to be able to do that and maintain form and volume and keep the illusion of squash and stretch. So your illusion of squash and stretch and deformation is bang on here. Really well done. You've done a really good job with that. It feels like one size. The only thing that really lets this exercise down from the intermediate archive that you studied is his feet. As you've been doing the keyframes, you haven't been watching his foot placement. So he's constantly not firmly on the ground, even when he's standing on the ground. So if we look at his feet here, right? Look, can you see there's a little bit of a slide forward? It's okay on the front leg, but not the back leg, right? We can get away with it on the front leg, but not the back leg. Then he slides, he comes here like this. He jumps, great. Now here it doesn't matter because he's firmly on the ground, but you see both legs are sliding to the away to the other side. So when you've been following along and doing your keyframes, you haven't locked the legs and feet in position, and that's what lets it down. Otherwise, this is an extremely faithful recreation of the exercise. So when you move on to the next exercise, which is primary and secondary action, please do bear that in mind. And you know, I'm loving your growth, Theodore. It is, you know, every time I look in this group, I'm really like reminded of just how powerful the Real Animator Training Library is, and it really fills my heart with so much joy and enthusiasm to see people actually growing with these exercises. It's worked for so many before, but we got a new batch of people that are now really growing with these exercises. Just fantastic, just excellent. Anything else? No, I think that's it. Oh, here's one from Logan. Posted in November, but I didn't see it. Logan Bernard Mitchell, another person working hard. I think I commented on this before, but this is looking better than the one I commented on. This is actually, yeah, no, I remember telling Logan about the growth in the front arm there. But pretty good. I mean, I've already looked at this and told Logan, yeah, pretty accurate, Logan. But yeah, we've already talked about that. Goodness me, that annoying video. Sorry to you people watching, that sound coming up. Auto sound is on. Cameron, this is looking great. You're doing it on paper. If there's any way for you to brighten up the image, maybe process it in your phone and whack up the exposure, and then play with the brightness contrast, and then turn it into black and white, and then up the black. That's what I often do when I get poor lighting. It's a fix, and I can see, but ultimately it's looking pretty good. When you're ready to post it on YouTube, so I can frame. Oh, you have done. You have done. I don't know what's happening with YouTube on this. Oh, there we are. So just take a look. I'm more looking at your drawings here. See here, when you're following my work, Cameron, you're actually doing it. I know that you're following my work, but you're actually doing those connection things. It's just a matter of applying it to your own work. The only thing I'll say about some of the drawings on here is they're a little bit skewed and lopsided. Obviously not to that level, but you'll sort that out. I think you pretty much got that. I'll wait until the end when it's done, and then you can upload a nice clear version that we can look at. I think you're working nicely through that. So there we go. If you're going to be making these sketch pads, Cameron, we know that you've done this, right? I haven't created a muscle archive, but you can use the same principle, just like I did, to do it with muscles, right? Move on and do it with muscles. You know all this, right? Move on and do it with muscles. I promise you, you're not going to forget it. And if you do find yourself forgetting it, then go back to it, right? All right, so that's pretty much our little look in the group. If you want to join this group, go onto Facebook. It's free. Just answer the questions to stop you from being a bot. And if you're asked about questions like, what do you think of hand-drawn animation? Just, yep, I like it. That's not a good enough answer, We need people who truly want to be involved in the revival of hand-drawn animation in the age of AI, because that's what AMB animation is all about. Once again, I'm going to say it. This stream, we're creating a piece of artwork for the concept for my Gracie Goodbear project. She's a princess being held by a dragon. If you want to see more of Gracie, if you want to help hand-drawn animation in the age of AI, please do click the link in the description or in the chat and donate to AMB Animation to help hand-drawn animation in the age of AI, and indeed help me see these projects through. We're currently doing a thriller dance, but you can see that Gracie Goodbear has so much more potential than just being a thriller dance or a cute little dance scene on Instagram, right? We can have full-on interesting little stories that perhaps may, depending on how much we raise, may not make it into animation, but at comic book level at the very least. So there's potential there, right? Or if you just want to say thanks for all the work that you do, there's a donation link in the description below. Right. So I'm going to read the comments in the chat, and then we're going to jump back into doing this drawing here. Strange Akal the Warrior is here. You mentioned the man. Gone but not forgotten. It's such a strange coincidence. My second animation ever was actually Mr. Bean dancing to Thriller. That project is actually what led me to AMB. I was working for a Mr. Bean impersonator. Oh, well, there you go. Amazing. Almost gave up on the animation entirely because it was puppet based and wasn't for me. I don't blame you. It can all be done with AI like that now. I spent forever timing it to the original song only to hit copyright issues and have to pay for a cover version. even though I was proud of the layout and designs for my second go. I'm not even going to use Thriller music for this. I realized I wanted to draw the frames myself, and that's when I found AMB and exactly what awesome, awesome. Thank you, Michael. I think I'm doing that too, drawing stuff and then correcting later. Not necessarily correcting, where looking at what makes the drawing appeal with exaggeration. Was watching a playthrough of I don't know that SNES game. How are you doing, Mega Man? I'm late about the cancelled project. There is no cancelled project. We're going on ahead with creating a piece of concept art for the Gracie Goodbear project. Right, so we're going to now start drawing this in. We have no design. So to those of you that have just joined late, I'm creating a bit of concept art for this project that I've got, Gracie Goodbear. And I just created something off the top of my head, a princess being held by a dragon. But these shapes that I created were purely from my imagination, and I found the design by just scribbling shapes, right? Nothing is designed at the moment. The dragon is not designed. Gracie is designed, but we're gonna do the easy thing first. Gracie is designed, so I'm going to focus on Gracie first because that is you know, the project's about her, and then we're gonna throw in the other character in there, right? So let's that is a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of him to that, and I'm going to change her to that. There we go. Now I can draw in my favorite red. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start drawing Gracie Goodbear in, and then we're going to think about aspects of the character, like the costume and all those elements. We may do a little bit of research. Now, I did mention that although I love Dragon's Lair, I don't feel the princess really does anything with the costume, right? Now this Gracie is a cosplay addict, right? So she loves to cosplay, but sometimes her head's in the clouds and she manifests what's in her imagination on Earth or in her world, right? So that's the concept of the Gracie Goodbear project, right? So it's a fun project where there is danger, but the danger is it's not like a hardcore action thing. Gracie's just you know, just has a lot of fun. She giggles and laughs a lot, and it's one of those kind of projects, right? So there will be danger in it, but right. So I'm kind of finding the shapes of the character. So here we've got hip line against shoulder line. And we've got this here. Now I'm gonna put in the legs here. Probably keep that straight there like that. You see I'm using that. Maybe we can put one foot on top of the other, right? Like that. Real old school stuff. So a little bit about anatomy here. The pelvis is here. The pelvis is here, right? And from here we've got like her knee, right? The brush is too fat. So we've got her knee. Then we've got alongside the other muscles. So I'm just focusing on the knee at the moment. Then the glutes will come here like this, right? So hair in line with the belly button, and the stomach will be around about there like that. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to work these shoulders. So the shoulders hang off the clavicle like that, right? And then I'll have her arm. So I'm going to put her little pinky up, right? It's going to be a real old school fantasy style illustration, right? So I'm giving her like a male, like it looks like a male chest at the moment because I want to get the anatomy right, okay? So we have something like the other arm will be coming here. I'm gonna keep her thumb out like that. I'm gonna play with that shoulder a little bit, right? The clavicle will be bent more up, right? So here you simply just create the circles of where the glands will be, and that's how you get the anatomy of the female form. It's not difficult once you know basic male anatomy. The head is a little bit off model, but I'm cool with that. Right now we're going to figure out a hairstyle. What the main thing I want is I want her to be correct, right? In that respect. Now I'm going to take that away. I'm going to work on that drawing. I'm going to make that, we'll make that this color. Make that a little bit fainter actually. There we go. All right. So now I want to get my expression a little bit more thought about, right? Which I will probably also change when I put her next to the dragon. Right? It may change. So what we can do here is we can create a nice little mask, right? But I'm going to cut into that, and we're going to have the circle of her nose coming there like that. I don't, some people talk about perspective and to do this thing, but I think people tend to overdo it that have learned this thing. And yes, that's good for structure, but sometimes it just creates a very, very skewed, awkward looking drawing that's just the flavor of the month at the moment, right? It's not necessarily the right way to do things. It is important to have a little bit of that going on, but we don't want to start doing that when we're doing expressions, because ultimately we want our work to be expressive rather than constructed, right? Look, formula is important and you've got to learn formula, but you've got to also understand that the formula is very much for the finishing, right? So what makes this character challenging is when we do angles like the one I've got here, where we're looking slightly up at her, because actually I'm gonna want to frame her face like this, right? So I'm gonna have to lower this, but then we can actually get into trouble with the size of her face. But that's where we kind of change we change things to suit. Now I'm going to do exactly what I was telling Cameron about earlier, right? I'm going to come in here. So this is going to come from the back. I'm going to come around like that, right? We're going to simplify everything. Not right. Going to bring that down there. Everything is being super simplified. We're gonna come from there and we're gonna find how that center line is gonna work too, right? It's very important. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna find the rib line. We've got the pelvis line there. We can also put in the line here to get the angle of the legs, right? How, you know, the contours are going to be working there, right? Possibly fatten that knee a little bit. So here, I'm going to bring the shoulders in. Again, I'm going to link that with the other side because that's where we're going to find our shapes. You see, I'm going to come back and I'm going to go over the face of the character as well, because it's important for me to get this right. So her hairline, something like that. Right. Now to get the feet right, I'm going to put a little triangle in there. She's going to have a heel, right? Oopsie, so we got to come to the center here. And another little triangle here can bring that heel around. Put that foot there, but I want to play with that like she's putting that foot over the other foot. The other foot will be here. Something like that. So her legs are going to be obscured by the hand anyway, but I want there to be some sense of logic to them, right? Her hands will have to be revised when she's in the ogre's. I'm turning him into a gargoyle / ogre now, right? Ogre's hands, right? Now here we have got the shoulder muscles which come here and the arms which come here, but then what we're going to do is we're going to these are going to then I'm going to create a middle line here, like a neckline there, like that. So I know that when I have these circles, right? These circles aren't going to be stiff circles, right? They're then going to be kind of attached to the anatomy, right? And we can change them as per the costume the character is wearing or anything like that. So they're going to be attached to the anatomy in a more, because the way that works is you have the clavicle, you have the anterior deltoid, the lateral deltoid, the bicep, the brachialis, and the lateral tricep. You then have the pectoralis major. So here's the sternum. So pectoralis minor, pectoralis major, coming the same thing on the other side, right? And then here's the latissimus dorsi with the serratus anterior, the rib cage, the rectus abdominis, right? But then there is a gland that grows on the chest, right? So constructing that is very, very simple. It's very, very simple. You just construct two circles, and that construction is very easy to work in. Do you still create small thumbnails even if there's an animatic? Always, always I create thumbnails. Gracie would make a good Persian princess cosplay for Prince of Persia. I'm gonna stay away from other people's projects when I do more Gracie Goodbear. We're gonna make it her own, all copyrighted by me. Even though I've got her doing the thriller dance, that's the thing that got people interested in her on Instagram, so that'll probably be the end of it. We can do inspired stuff, which is homage, but if we're going to turn this into our own possible franchise or something, then we're going to have to start exiting all of this fan stuff. Hey, have we got Amberly in the chat? Hello, I'm currently working on my first tapestry. It's gonna be great to be back in the Yan. Yeah, I saw that post, I think on Instagram. I have a hard time drawing teeth. I can't make it like not crooked. Do you know how to fix my problem? Absolutely. Learn the skull, learn teeth. So, okay, I've done this drawing many times, but then I'll do it again, right? So you have got a frontal bone, you have got a zygomatic bone, right? You've got a nasal bone, right? You've also got an ethmoid, vomer, and sphenoid bone, right? Now here is where you got a maxilla bone, right? Now watch this, all right? You have got 4 incisors, 2 on either side. You have got 2 canines, right? You have got 2 premolars, and you have got 3 molars, right? All coming in there like that. You say, I'm doing cartoons. Listen, if you're gonna cartoon something properly, you have to basically understand what it's based on. So it doesn't matter. I've got a whole anatomy archive talking about this. It doesn't matter what character I'm doing, because I understand that. Let's do a snarling teeth mouth, right? I can just go in here and do a stylized thing with 2 canines, right? Some people like to draw like the side of the back. That's a stylized thing. I personally don't do that because the jaw is at the back of the mouth, right? You wouldn't see that there. The lips would be there like that. But then you can start to throw in definition, like you can start to just have a few gums coming in, right? And you know where your teeth are in that regard. So you can have the lips doing weird things. You can have like a woman. You normally leave it completely like white to show that they've got a pasty smile, or you can just put something in there and just put a little bit of a canine in there. If you're opening somebody's mouth, right? You're opening somebody's mouth. Let's just throw in the lips. Again, here you want to think about the lips are coming around, and then you got the gums there. So you got to think about, okay, that's my upper portion. The other stuff is going to come around underneath like this. So you can just make shapes underneath, right? But I know that from here, you wouldn't really see the bottom teeth, but I'm just going to do it. I know that from here that I've got 1, okay, that's the 4 incisors. Those are the canines, right? Can do a bit of gum. Those are the premolars coming in there, right? You can have like the tongue, and then the same goes up here like this, all right? You got the 4 incisors, you got the 2 canines, you got a little bit of that, right? So ultimately, you can then turn it into like big cartoon teeth. You can just have you can really kind of work with the canines, right? And then have the smaller ones underneath, right? Play with something along the side there, just have a bit of the crushing. So it's actually, by learning your subject properly, you can cartoon it very easily. All right, so let's go back to here. I'm going to give her normal hairstyle for now. So her hairstyle is very much based on my wife's hairstyle at the front section there, but then it kind of becomes its own thing, right? Because she's got ears and my wife hasn't got ears, obviously. Well, she's got ears, but she hasn't got bare ears, right? So I'm gonna then play with that. I'm gonna think of a nice, before we do anything, okay, gonna have that, 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 that. I'm gonna bring that in there like that, right? Before we do anything crazy, I'm gonna make a nice simple shape for the hair. All right, now, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put her in a costume, and then we will, so I'm gonna Google fairy tale princess. Fairy tale princess. And I'm not going to work too hard on this thing. I'm going to basically find the first thing that I think is kind of cool that can match what I'm doing here. Okay, I can modify that. Right. So I'm going to get a dark blue. And I said, Gracie Goodbear is a fun kind of semi-pinup inspired character. So I'm going to make her costume a little bit racy, but I'm not like Princess Daphne in Dragon's Lair, because I want it to be a little bit more more costume, more costume, just not a bikini, It doesn't even feel like a princess thing. I love Princess Daphne, don't get me wrong. Absolutely love Dragon's Lair. It's one of the biggest influences in my life. Probably Gracie Goodbear is influenced by Princess Daphne in some way, shape, or form. So please don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing Dragon's Lair, but I just want the costume to be a little bit like medieval and princessy, and so I'm kind of just roughing something in, because the skirt and everything is not really going to matter so much when we actually, this would be more like this, right? And I can make the drapery up, it doesn't matter. And then I think she's gonna have some flowers on her hair like that. Okay, that kind of works for me. Head's a little bit on the big side there, but I'll bring that in there. I'll bring that in there. Okay, so we have got her. How are we doing for time? 1 hour 27. We got plenty of time. Back when I went to Don Bluth's in-person masterclass, someone had brought a mini Dragon's Lair arcade. That's something would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. No doubt about it. All right, so just to remind you all, I'm going to do it throughout the stream, and I don't care if it annoys anybody because that's what's going to get this thing made. If you love Gracie Goodbear and you like what I'm doing, please click the link in the description. Click donate now to see more of Gracie Goodbear, to see more of the thriller dance projects that I'm doing. Let me just, I don't know if you've seen the latest ad that I did, so let's just play that for you now. And then, and then we'll carry on with this drawing. So let's go to 2026. There we go. All right. Gracie. So,
Is a good bear. Gracie is a good bear. She's a fun-loving girl who loves her dreams. Literally. Her empathy empowers her to sail through life, spreading sweetness and love all around. Always a dreamer, she has her head in the clouds, floating freely through her fancies and feeling her way through her deadly fantasy.
So this is the animation that we're doing.
Gracie loves to dance. I'm currently animating her, doing her take on the famous thriller dance. Now, if you feel a connection to Gracie in any way, shape, or form, and would like to help me finish her dance sequence, you can donate below. Your support is most welcome. Thank you.
So as said, Gracie Goodbear is not just going to be just the thriller dance. You kind of saw that she's got her head in the clouds. She's likes to cosplay, and sometimes those cosplay worlds catch up on her, and she finds herself, is she dreaming or is she actually in that world, like being captured by dragons and monsters and, being in the Wild West possibly, or whatever, right? So if you like the way that, if you think that project is worth anything, then please do consider the donating in the link below. Right, so now I think I'm gonna leave Gracie for now, and we're gonna work on the monster. We're gonna work on our monster. So let's make this monster interesting. Now I do like Komodo dragons. I've got a Komodo dragon right here to prove that I like them, but that's not necessarily going to be good enough for this cartoon. So I'm going to, similar to Little Nemo. Yeah, Bob, I actually know very little about Little Nemo. I still haven't seen that anime thing with the best possible animation I've ever seen from Japan. but possibly, if that's what Little Nemo is. So I'm going to start now. Now, that's it. I'm going to look at the predator. That's what I was going to look at. So we're going to go original predator. Original predator. Oh, I want him to have like the dreadlocks. It's a bit difficult to see what he looks like. Oh, that's good. That's interesting. There's a Stan Winston image of him here, right? So I actually want to make him smiling all of a sudden, right? So let's now start playing with this. I'm going to look at the predator thing. I'm going to adapt. I'm going to adapt it. So we've got a tooth here. And we've got another tooth here, right? That makes it. But I'm going to give him this front front section here. I'm going to change it. I'm going to keep some of my thing here. All right. I'm going to give him a horn here. I'm going to keep something of what I originally had it, right? So we've got something like that, right? So this tooth is a little bit on the big side, but we might want to, I'm just going to play around. We got the zygomatic bone coming up here like that. Now I'm going to have something like that. Now he's got this bottom teeth thing here, which I'm not sure that I'm gonna keep that. So this one I'll make smaller. This one I'll make slightly bigger. This one I'll make like that. Okay. So that's what I've kind of taken from that. Now in here, to put some little teeth in there like that. Right. And I'm gonna keep what I had there because I like that. The jaw actually starts up there, right? So let's heighten the jaw. Then we've got the head, which is here. Okay. That gives him a little bit, so he doesn't really have that little weak neck anymore. Right. So we've got something like that. I'm gonna have him smiling. He wasn't smiling at first. I'm gonna have him smiling. Right. So the way we're gonna sell that smile is we're gonna put a lot more wrinkles on his face like that. See, it would be pretty fun animating this, right? It'd be pretty good fun animating this. To be honest, you know, if I get more into it, I might just stop the thriller thing at one point, like, and just move on to doing the thing, depending on how enthusiastic audiences get with the project. Now, I do want to give him the dreadlocks, but I can't see what those dreadlocks look like. There's a mask, so he would have a hairline, because this whole project is a celebration. Like, my work is a celebration of Generation X content, because I'm a Generation X guy. So I'm gonna throw little references in there, right? Maybe you'll have a few stray dreadlocks like that. Okay. Right, so now I'm gonna start thinking about so here we've got the muscles. So we've got the posterior, the lateral, and the anterior deltoid coming in there, the tricep, the long head of the tricep, the lateral, like that there, like this. The tricep tendon would be coming here like this. Of course, the brachioradialis. So you see now I'm starting to, I'm starting to load it with anatomy, even though I started with simple shapes. But that's all right, because this is how I'm gonna build this image, right? I'm gonna simplify it again. So this will be the spine. So the latissimus dorsi will be coming here. The pelvis is here. The glutes are here. The rectus femoris, the tensor fasciae latae, the vastus lateralis, the gastrocnemius, the patella, the tibial tuberosity coming here. So you see, Cameron, how I'm now starting to insert anatomy into all this, right? Into those simple shape choices, right? Now I'm just gonna, I based his feet on a Komodo dragon, so we may not even be seeing his feet, so I'm just gonna be kind of like simple with them, right? I'm liking that. Let's see what's going on in the chat, how you guys are feeling about this. I really love Gertie the Dinosaur. Before Steamboat Willie, there was Windsor McKay. Absolutely, yeah. Rotoscoping animated the Gertie the Dinosaur. Was incredible. I have huge Windsor McKay book. Genuine masterpiece. Windsor McKay is an incredible animator. Yeah, Windsor McKay was a pioneer. Windsor McKay was an absolute pioneer. So here, now here I'm going to talk about the hand. So here we've got the metacarpals. We've got the nail here. So I'm kind of working out the, so then here we've got something like this. All right. And we can put the other knuckle higher because it will be pressed into the ground more. And then we can start to play with the bending of the fingers to create a interesting silhouette. And by sticking out his pinky, we're not just doing it for a nice pose. We're doing it to indicate that this guy could be friendly, right? Now, the bottom of him, his tailbone would be hair, really, right? So if he was going to have a tail, it would be like this, right? So we can still create a mass there like that. But before I go in drawing the tail, which I'm pretty happy with in the original, I'm going to work out what to do with these shoulder blades of the... So we have got like a scapula bone, which is here, right? Now I might have that come up. Now I'm going to type in folded gargoyle wing. Folded gargoyle wings. Right. So that's pretty interesting. I like that. That kind of comes over the side. I'm not really sure how to make that work with my image. So we've got the frame which comes up here. So that'll be one bone which comes up here. Right. Then we can put a little horn on the top there. So that'll be like the thumb, right? Then that'll be the fingers. Let's go by what I already know about all right. So then the secondary feathers would be more like this, coming in here like that. Okay, that can work. But now we want to attach it to the skin in a good way. They don't actually do that with this, so I'm going to kind of think of some growth happening outside of his skin like that, with cracks and things in it. So then we can kind of introduce that in there. All right. Alrighty. I'm going to take this guy away and refine his shapes. Right, so let's turn it the other way and see what we got. How are we doing for time? Maybe it's weird, but are you gonna give the monster hair like fur? I think I'm just gonna give him dreadlocks like the Predator has. The monster feels like he could be both good and evil. That's exactly what I want. So, absolutely. Let's see how we're doing for time. 1 hour 46. Yeah, we got plenty of time to turn this into something. So now, again, Cameron, watch, right? Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to come here. Now, I'm not going to make such big sweeping shapes that, as I did last time, I'm going to bear in mind the anatomical choices that I made. But I'm still going to simplify the shapes, right? I'm still going to simplify the shapes. We're still very much gonna, so we're removing those elements. So you see the whole curve and straight thing is playing out. Now I'm going to do it on the head as well. I think the dreadlocks are going to make him a lot more interesting and exciting. So we're kind of doing some character design here on the fly. But you can see how having a awareness of shapes and silhouettes really does help. You know, imagine these as fingers, and then we'll draw them in nicer later on, all coming to that point. That I will leave out. I'll just keep half in there like that. So yeah, the hair and the dreadlocks are gonna really help the character. I may want to put a horn on his head as well. So this stream also may inspire you to just have a go at designing something, right? Let's put a horn on his head, give him that Ray Harryhausen Cyclops feel. Okay, now I'm gonna kind of just vaguely almost gives it like this Egyptian. So I want to look at the contours of this. That contour would probably be more like that. And that kind of goes behind his head. But maybe we can keep this one here like that. Ruining the drawing a little bit, but we'll see. Let's reverse that. Okay. Let's bring that in here. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. You don't often see me doing this. I want to keep the underdrawing. Edit, cut, edit, paste. Edit, cut, edit, paste. All right, I'm going to take that underdrawing away. So we've got Gracie and the creature together. I may want to reframe this now. I may want to frame this like this. Now we go a little bit tighter. We want it to be more about Gracie, but now we can perhaps make it a full on image, like perhaps a little bit tighter. So we don't even need the rest of the creature, but I want to do it for the sake of having context, having a more working design. All right, so I'm going to take both of these images and I'm going to start tidying them up now. The difference between friend and fiend is one letter. Ray Harryhausen, yes. All right, now, first things first, let's do Ms. Goodbear. I'm going to take the brush size down. Now I'm focusing on the garments, on the clothes now. Right? Because they're super important to me, right? So this would come off her sleeve. Now it's going to come around her sleeve. It's probably going to go a little bit in his thumb and then off his thumb around the side like that. It's going to come up and around like that. I'm going to have a little bit of pull from that. Probably coming there. I'm going to draw a little bit of his hand in there because it's important to get that hand working there. Now what I'm going to do is put a little bit of a crease there to make that. This brush is a little bit too fat for me, so I'm going to bring it down some. Bring it down to 12. Let me go in here and finalize the costume. Right. So we'll have the easy parts, which are these. Now we'll put a little bit of folds and creases. Now this is going to go straight. See how I'm joining that? Now the angle doesn't help, so I'm going to change the angle. Let that come off there, that's better. So I'm going to draw her arm in here like that. Get her. No, I'll keep her thumb resting up on there. Keep her fingers small. Right. So this will then come here like this. So we want to join these things to create the interesting sleeve designs, right? So this sleeve will go this way. So what we want is we want to have a little bit up, but then touching the skin, right? And then it can go over. We won't be too clever about the way we were doing it before. Just go over and overlap itself a little bit like that. And that'll want to come in there, and then that'll want to go down there like that. Yeah, we may want to, I don't want to change the direction too much. We can eliminate some of those lines. We'll eliminate that. There we go. And we have this, this can be a little bit more kind of adventurous with that. Make that a little bit more interesting. There we go. We won't need that anymore. Keep it simple. Then here, I will add something like that. There we go. Now the skirt is compressed inside him. So I want to kind of suggest that it's coming out and going in. Now it could ruin the drawing by doing that, but I don't want her hand to be simply just I don't want her to be just simply hidden into the hand, right? So we want to emphasize now that might ruin it a little bit. I'm gonna draw the hand in. It may have to be on that side, but we'll sort that out later. I'm not going to get bogged down in that. Now this, I'm going to keep that coming down. That will be going behind his hand. I originally had her hand on him, but his hand has shrunk in size a little bit. So I'm going to draw her arm in and draw her hand because I can't really visualize it any other way. There we go. This could, oh, I like that. That could work. This could work there. We keep her feet. I'm gonna keep her barefoot. Barefoot. Good barefoot. Right? Just because it's cute. Right. See, do little feet there like that. Okay. That's working. Any name for this character? I have some names. Old Nick Golgoth. Grimlickin. More sounds good. Sounds they're all pretty cool names actually. Now I'm going to slightly revise the head. So I'm going to get another color there. What I'm going to do is slightly revise that head, and I may make her neck a little bit smaller. I'll put that in there like that. Old school eyelashes before the single flick became a thing. Single flick was a very 90s thing. This is my Don Bluth, Princess Daphne, early Disney vibe. I like to see the eyelashes on the cartoon character. I might give her a little beauty spot. She used to have one. Right. I'm gonna move her head down a little bit because I think it needs a little bit, just a little bit, be a little bit smaller in size. So we'll move it down. Like that. As the design changes, I slightly change her proportions. Very slightly. She has those things, but I don't know if I can make them work on her ears. We'll see. All right, I'm gonna bring, let's first, yeah, we can do the flowers elsewhere. I'll bring her head there. It looks better to me. Let's put it a little bit in inverse. Yep. That like that. Gonna tidy the head up again, but it is one of the most important aspects of the character. Getting her face right. So if you're in a hurry, that's why it's really good to understand anatomy and things like that, because you can kind of rush. If you're working to deadlines and things, you can kind of rush the anatomy and the great poses will come out just fine, right? But the one thing that you should really take your time on is the expression. You know, you should not rush. You should not rush anything. You should not rush the body or the pose or the body language, or you'll end up with stiff, very digital illustration style images of the character that may as well be AI. You know, what I'm talking about is you don't want to. I've got to change your eye line, which I will do when I tidy the head up. So let's just make this garland of flowers kind of like a simple thing here. I may as well get her eyes right on this pass. He's a friendly guy. He may fall in love with Gracie. Who knows? Who knows? He may have a mega crush on her and go and scare her boss or something. I don't know. All these concepts are great little concepts that we can work out later on. All right. I'm liking that Gracie head. So I'm going to make that an even lighter color. And let's the important thing is also to keep the drawing good. Now, one of the things that I have about Gracie Goodbear is I want her to be a little bit like a pin-up and to have a certain kind of sex appeal. However, if I feel it will ruin the drawing to do something like this, right, I won't put it in there, because it will ruin the drawing, in my opinion, and it will just it's just pointless. So when creating artwork like this, I always believe it's important to have a certain amount of authenticity and integrity about the storytelling more than anything else, right? There are different kind of audiences, and one of the reasons I am where I am now with Gracie Goodbear is, yes, of all my projects that I've been doing, she's the one that has probably got the most excitement and attention on social media, which is why we're doing all this. You know, donate if you'd like to see more Gracie, blah, blah, blah. And I have to respect what the fans want, and I have to respect what the fans have, you know, have probably initially liked about Gracie Goodbear, and that is very much part of the project. But you also have to, I believe, be authentic with the project. You have to kind of like be authentic with the storytelling. Make it more than just a surface level product. If people like Gracie Goodbear initially at a glance, maybe they'll actually really like her when her personality and, you know, charm appears through like the stories, the cute little stories and things like that. So let's see how it goes. I know there's a whole vast variety of audiences out there that may want to just focus on the aesthetic aspect. I certainly won't take her in the direction that some people on X would like me to take her, although I'm very, very grateful for their support and interest in Gracie Goodbear. But some of that furry stuff that I see, I don't mind furry projects, but some of the stuff I see is just not me, and I'm not interested in exploring that aspect. So I may as well get that said now to anybody who's watching and wanting to support the project, of so you know the more the direction that this project would likely take. But that said, thank you very much for the interest and support that you have channeled towards the Gracie Goodbear character, and indeed some of the donations that have been received for the current project involving her, which is the thriller dance, which is, so you kind of know what you're getting with that one. So your donation is being put towards that. Thank you. Right. So there we have our character coming to life. How many hours are we doing on this live stream? Let's see, we want this one, which is 2 hours 12 minutes. We've got enough time to draw in the monster, make something out of him. Again, I'm making this image out of line work. If it was going to be a painting, you probably wouldn't be being so detailed with the line work, but my work is very much like hand-drawn animation or inked comic books, and I'm not so, you know, maybe would paint it up, but I still like to enjoy the aspect of drawing in all the line. Yeah. All right. That is the Gracie aspect down. So now let's get the monster. So I'm going to start with the dreadlocks. I'm just going to kind of begin. I'll work in black so you can see more clearly what I want out of this. Maybe I'll just kind of, I want this to kind of go this way. This is the initial shape that okay, right, so we could have it like that, or we could have it coming like that. because it does go over his jaw. I'm probably going to have a couple of goes at these dreadlocks. I've just decided to put that thing at the bottom of it. To have it coming out. It will probably turn in the other way, actually. So let's just keep them as really simple shapes. They're almost going to be like stone quality, but he's not made of stone. But I'm imagining, okay, this one we can have going like this. That's good. And we can turn one the other way out on that side, just like that. Possibly because the wing's coming there, so we might want something like that. Then we have, let me turn it the other way actually. Let's work in inverse so I can really get an idea of these shapes. Maybe we can come up here and straight. Yeah, that one works for me. So we're gonna, that's how we're gonna get to the other side of his head. Like that. Then here. Maybe we can just turn it out a little bit like that. But don't like that shape there. Like that. This I will keep in line with that. Yep. And we'll put the horn on the head there like that. All right. So let's get this expression correct. Let's have just a bit more brow. Like that. Is the Gracie costume at all inspired by Rowan from Prince Valiant? You know what, it wasn't, but that's a great observation, Akal, because you know how much I love my Legend of Prince Valiant, right? So, and Rowan was a blacksmith's daughter, so she was like a peasant girl. So that's interesting. That's really interesting. If this project ever went anywhere, we may play with that. I like that. I'm gonna close that and put in a little wrinkle around the side of the eye there, like that. Oh, I have received. Thank you, Akal. So Akal, thank you very much. Akal has donated 20 Great British pounds to the Gracie Good Bear project. Excellent. Very grateful for that, Akal. This is exactly what we're trying to do with the Gracie Good Bear. Is we're trying to move. The Real Animated Training Library is always going to be there, and AMB Animation is always going to be pumping out content that helps people grow. In fact, we've been doing it in this stream. But we're trying to create content now in an AI infested world. Authentic hand-drawn animated content, hand-drawn animated projects by independent animators. And of course, AMB animation, one of the things that I started AMB animation was with the hope to educate independent animators to be able to create projects that were not only on par but superior with what the Hollywood studio system were doing. Now, yeah, it does take a bit of time, but here we are almost 8 years later, and there are people that I've actually hired. There are people in this chat right now: Akao, Cameron, Michael, Charlene, um, many more actually, who are more than capable of getting involved with these projects, getting involved, in a team to be able to get these projects actually made. So that's what we're looking to do now. We're looking, obviously at the beginning, depending on how much we get, it's pretty much just going to be like a Patreon. I'm supporting AMB to create his artwork and his projects. But the goal and the idea, and it has been done before by others with projects, is to get enough of it so that some of, not some, but a great portion actually, of, depending on the scale of the project, can be used to actually hire like people to get this stuff actually made faster. I'm an extremely fast animator, but and the stuff being done is excellent, but with people cleaning the work up, contributing to coloring, contributing to backgrounds, Frilled Mayfly. How could I forget Frilled Mayfly? Somebody like that, multi-skilled person, working independently on this stuff, helping out, would be great. Yeah. So there's already so much that can be done. I mean, particularly how fast I work with I tested it out with some of the other library members. I can key stuff out. My work is pretty clean. They're more than capable of in-betweening it. This stuff can actually get made. But right now, you can call what we're doing here an experiment. Just as was with Little Red. Little Red was an experiment. It didn't actually quite play out the way I would have liked it to have played out. But you know what? It was a learning experience. And I'm taking what I learned from that and putting it towards this, right? So with this, we've actually done a little bit of market research. There's actually people that are invested in and really like the Gracie Goodbear character. So that's already a positive start. What we can do, where we can go with this, right? Now this Pinky probably needs to be a little bit longer. Doesn't really matter. Now the dread should be turned this way. But thank you, Akal. That is very much appreciated. Probably keep it like that. Now I'm treating these dreads like they're made of stone at the moment. And what we can do here is actually get rid of that. We can, I'll do a test one first to know what I want. Yeah, from about there. Notice how I started that test one from the top. That works. So I'm being a little bit lazy, admittedly, with the gargoyle, because while his we are doing it on a live stream, so while his face and dreadlocks are quite cool, his body's pretty generic, right? But I don't mind that. It's a Gracie Goodbear is a quick project. Some of the other people who are in the chat already know the projects that I've been developing and working really hard designing detailed environments, characters, concepts, scripts. But as of yet, those projects were made pretty much like my own personal projects, which have not been really tested so much on the audiences, and when they have, the response has not been as it has been with Gracie. So, which is why I'm jumping ahead and testing something out with Gracie. But to those of you that are looking more interested in my other projects, those are, you know, if the Gracie thing happens, then it's good news for them, you know. So it looks like I'm doing a cleanup. I am kind of cleaning this thing up, but it's still pretty, you know, I'm not really looking to get a great line out of it, right? I'm just making sure that it's ready to be, it's tied down, you know. Let's throw in a little bit of those, right? Okay, so let's make that color too. Right. So what we want here is a little kind of spine-like structure there. Like that. There we go. Now the eye lines have to be so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that, edit gut. I'm going to go back to our original paste, so we can see these stages of development of this illustration concept that we're doing. So I'm gonna see, let's all make that our red. Let's make that our darker red. So we began the live stream with this. We then developed it into this, and we have now taken it further into this. I'm gonna make Gracie with the same colors, so I can look at what needs to be addressed here. Right, so the first thing I want to address is his eye, and obviously, yeah, I won't do so much with Gracie's eyes. Right, so we're gonna have his eye there like this. Right. Probably What I am going to add to this character, what I really feel he can have to avoid him from being so... He is kind of made of stone, but not made of stone. So then we can just throw in another little dreadlock there, just to kind of line that up nicely. There we go. Hopefully you're inspired to go away now and create your own piece of concept art. Like, the concept art doesn't have to, it could be story art, right? It doesn't have to be environments, although there could be an environment here, which I touched on earlier. It can be like concept of the story, right? So if I wrote that Gracie, you know, fire breathing dragons and ogres and whatever come into Gracie's world or something like that, and had this as an image with it, it's a great piece of visualization. It's story art, like letting people know what's actually going on. Right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna possibly throw in a few veins on his eyes, right? And the usual kind of like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2, right? 1 1 2, making it a lot more interesting. So this, I may, although I wanted to show his jawline, I may just bring that in, because it's a lot more interesting like that. There we are. So looking good. Now the other things that the thing that I want to do here is just check her sleeves. Now I rolled that over, but that may not necessarily be the best thing to do. Right. You may want to create just a little line like that and lose that there, right? That gives it a bit of texture. The other one's absolutely fine. Now the other thing that I wanted to do was to have her, let's dry his hand clean first. Right. So we've got that clean, but I don't like it. I want to have a little bit of something coming somewhere like that. So we need to be careful with that though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the line of her iliac bone, which is there, right? So I'm going to soften that one. That's all coming from her iliac bone. I'm going to try that. A little bit too much. Right. That's better than this one. Come in here like that. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a tip about, you know, drawing drapery without, yeah, groundhopper is a, I've actually been doing a lot of them lately. Thanks, Amberly. Yes, your old college project did inspire Little Red, because I was so, like, you're one of the people like Cameron who is just such a hard worker, Amberly, that I really wanted to help you when I saw that you was trying to do a storyboard project for university. So I was just saying, this is how I would go about designing a Little Red, and then I thought, hey, this would make a great little project. Let's try and do it. It did make a great little project, actually. But so when I draw this in, I'll give her a little bit of fur, but I'm not going to do that here right now. So here's a little like tip about the doing clothing. So let's just focus on the hips, right? So let's just say the weight's on this leg, and this leg's turned out, right? So first thing, like, we're gonna kind of just draw the legs in, right? Now I'm gonna have to talk about this because we're talking about anatomy. So from here, right, you go to the kneecap, right, and that's where the rectus femoris sits, right? Then you got the vastus lateralis, the vastus medialis, and then here you got the gracilis coming around the knee there like that. Then you got the gastrocnemius on the other side, the tibialis anterior, the peroneus longus coming in there like that, right? And also here you've got the abductors, but the gracilis is coming around there. Abductor magnus is there, but we're not really seeing that. Then we got rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, gastrocnemius, tibialis anterior. Why am I talking about all this? Because we got the pelvic bone here where the pubis bone is, right? And this is where the femur bone connects, the ischiasm bone, and all the abductors and everything, and those muscles sit up there. So when we're doing drapery, you want to think, right, okay, well, let's say that you've got like a pair of pants, right? So we'll start with a pair of pants, right? So around this pelvis section here, right, where all those muscles are, you've got the opportunity to create relief and drapery like that, even when, like, let's say that they're flared out. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself by doing all that, but let's just say I'm kind of feeling my way and I want to make these flared trousers a little bit more. So I'm gonna come from here and realize that the knee joint is here, right? So this idea was good, but it's not good enough. We want to actually flare it here, right? Because it's coming off the knee and it's going down, right? Then we can take it in around over the side, right? And bring it in there, right? That would be more akin to the gravity, and the, because we've got the anatomy that's helping us. This is fine, right? And this can come off here like this, so maybe a little bit more here, right? And then this can go against the curve of there, right? So that's one way, right? Then let's say we've got a skirt, right? So let's just say I do like a skirt like this. So from here, right, I'm gonna create a little bit of like relief coming in, right? So here would be the first kind of fold like that. Then underneath, we'll get another one from there, right? But then this one will be coming out to the other side. So we'll kind of come to the side of the leg, but then we'll see a little bit of another one coming down there like that, right? So when we're doing these kind of draperies and things like that, we really want to think about where they're starting from. So even if let's just say, all right, let's say we want our legs crossed, right? So this isn't a difficult pose, right? We just do the patella tendon, right? We know that our rectus femoris is there, right? We know that from there, the side, we've got the glutes. We've also got tensor fasciae latae coming here, vastus lateralis there, right? Coming there, biceps femoris. Now we've got the, before I'm going to do the gastrocnemius, we have to think about how this leg's coming in affecting it. So we've got the patella tendon there. We got gastrocnemius there, tibialis anterior there. So this would be changed slightly and the gastrocnemius will be coming down there like that, right? Then you got the glutes and then you got the hip, right? The iliac crest coming here. So let's say, actually that would be more to that side. I've got to visualize this a little bit better actually. Let's say that it's more like that, right? That's where that leg will be. Let's say that we now want to have some folds in the garment, right? Obviously we want to research it, but let's say we're just making it up, right? Because we know what we're doing. So the dress is here. From here, we're gonna go along, let's say the chair is like this, right? I'm gonna go along there like that. So that's one side of that, right? Done, right? But then this is gonna come up here, right? It's gonna gradually come around to here, but then it's gonna be, this knee is coming through here like this, right? So we have to think about how this thing here, right, is coming here, and we got to really kind of do it like, take it back to the point where this section is coming from, right? So we've got this round thing here. It's being pressed against by this knee, but it's also coming back around here to this side, right? So we'll see the underside of it, right? We may see the underside of it like this. But then as we see the underside of it, it's possible that it'll be pressed under the knee like that, right? And then there'll be another few little creases on that side there. So then this knee will be coming through on this side. And then we'll have something coming up here like this. But then what this then will do is then from here we can create another one, right? Another one coming underside here like this, coming underside here like this. So this one then joins into this one, right? Right, which then comes there, which then, you know, then we've got the aspect of this, right? So then maybe the chair will then be taking it higher, right? So if I'm going to be coming around there like that, I will then look for something like that, right? So the chair will be taking that higher. Then this will be folded over, possibly. I don't know. I'm just guessing, right? Or it'll just be coming around the side here, because this skirt is going to, again, we'll see the underside of it, and then we'll see the chair, if there is a chair there, right? We'll see something coming underside it like that. So then we'll have this leg in front, this leg here like that. So when we're figuring out drapery from imagination, right? I personally would still research. It's always better to research, but I personally think that if you have the knowledge of anatomy, you can pull it off to a certain degree from your imagination. But for me, if you're really wanting to move really forward, then you're gonna want to research. But then when you want to cartoon things, you can do it from your imagination and then go for the simple shapes, right? So when I clean this up one more time, right? Give him a little bit of a road runner style eye there. When I clean this up for one more time and color it in or what have you, I will then go once more, making sure that these shapes are even more appealing, right? Even more appealing than what I have. The other thing that I want to explore is the whole giving him the, that might be a little bit overkill. So it probably would just be better to put these warts all over the design, you know, in little triangles of 3s or 5s, you know, throw in a big one every now and then around them. Again, the law of appeal would be to would you start to instinctively know where the shapes will look good, where those things will look good, where to leave them, where to perhaps not have them, right? So while it looks like I'm randomly putting these shapes on this character, I'm arranging them like the way, like when you become good at cartoon hair, right? You kind of know and understand how to bunch cartoon hair. Then you can create great looking cartoon hair. But with this, same thing with this, it's literally like a combination of knowing anatomy, using things in triangles, groups. We may have done a bit too many on the arm there. Then of course there's this thing underside which would be colored differently. All right. So that is it, really. Inspiring others is something I strive to do. Excellent. So what we have done today is we've looked at some work in the group, but we've also created a little bit of concept art. Now, concept art and illustration can be two things. I could have kept this rough and took it into a painting thing and painted it up and did all that, but I'm not so interested in that. That's not really what my channel is about. My channel is about cartoon drawing, cartoon art, cartoon line art, getting the drawing to a level that in line it is like, you know, that we're not hiding anything with color. Everything works in inverse. We're not blacking things out. And of course, if we were going to do that, we would let's get a dull shade of blue. We would the drawing would be infinitely, you know, very appealing if we were going to, you know, just very quickly send like elements of the character in the background with shadow, you know. So I would have I drew all those little lines on him, so I've got to color it in, damn it. But so you can see, like, I'm drawing a shape of shadow here, and you say, well, you see, a painter wouldn't really bother so much about the line. Not necessarily a good line. This is not the best line. It's a quick line, but getting everything to look great in line, because they're just gonna paint over it with shadow, and who cares, right? So it's very different to the way an animator or a comic inker would need to be good at line, though, because quite frankly, before you start inking things, you wanna really understand. So actually, all of this would potentially be in shadow, right? All of this would potentially be in shadow. Obviously, the light source is coming from here. So you can see how that creates a dramatic, again, here, I mean, his arm is coming out. That would be casting a shadow. There'd just be very little light here, right? Just possibly a tiny bit of light up there, right? And then all of this, right, would be in complete shadow. So it's like, what's the point, right? What's the point of really trying to get the design looking good? I'm sure you've seen a certain digital painter who's a great draftsman and animator come online and do great paintings, right? Because half of the, like, you just draw a simple shape and then you start thinking from the point of color and painting and light. Now that's very different if you want to be a good animator and you want to focus on animation, because one of the reasons why I like to draw everything in line is because animators have to close all their lines and their anatomy and drawing has to be correct. And then I create a shape of shadow, because when we animate shadow, we create shapes and animate those shapes. And those shapes will change in accordance to what happens to his arms, right? So these shapes will change and animate. So it's very different to the way a digital painter would work, where that you can quickly knock out an image on a live stream that's very painted and finished looking. That's great, but if you're striving to be a hand-drawn animator, you have to understand that it takes a lot of skill and discipline and training to be able to draw a character. Let me now show you the animation here. Like, here you can see me doing it with the beast, right? Before you add shadow on him, you've got to animate him, and everything has to be in the right place. Now, most of that might be in darkness, and if you're a digital painter, it's a waste of time. But then if you're animating it, you're going to have to animate various shapes of shadow moving around him as he's doing those things. Similarly, we've got what's going on with this. All of this is got to be drawn in properly, right? Got to be drawn in properly. No, we got to make sure every part of the clothing and the legs, the boots, whether they're going to be seen or not in shadow or lighting. If this is going to have lighting, again, that'll depend on the amount of money we receive from the donations. So that's why a drawing like this can take 2 hours on a live stream, and sometimes you can knock out a full finished painting on a live stream. You say, well, this is just a drawing. Well, it's not just a drawing. It's an animation drawing. We've designed a character to a certain model. We've also made sure it works in inverse. We've also had all the costume working, and we've made sure that it can be animatable. Like we can see that this is an animatable drawing, and it can be colored in any way, shape, or form. And we can introduce shadow. We can paint it digitally afterwards. And yes, if we wanted to do a nice rendered, soft digital painting and all that with, gradients and all that, drawing it in line like this is not necessary. But if we want to turn it into an animation or a comic book ink, even some comic book, you don't necessarily need to ink it to this level, because many of bits where the inker has pencil guys roughed in the shadow, you just say, okay, I'm going to ink a big shape and black it in, and hatch around it. But with animation, it's different, right? So that's why we draw like this. That's why as an animator, I like to draw like this, and I like to really focus on line and shape. All right, so that is basically it. 3-hour stream. Let me just say that if you are interested in learning how to become an animator, a hand-drawn animator, expressing yourself, you're not fulfilled by simply typing prompts into AI. You love the process. You appreciate drawing and animation. You want to bring your drawings to life. You're not going to settle for what pedestrian mindsets might find interesting with fan prompts of Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt fighting, or just random scenes of stuff that people who don't know anything about filmmaking may be impressed by, and you actually want to get good at the craft, then consider joining the Real Animator Training Library. Go to AMB Animation, click on Join Real Animator Training. You have this page here. You can read all about it. If you click Join Now, you will see that we have got a bundle. We've got an everything bundle called the Master Animator Training Bundle. It includes everything in here. We've also got the Real Animator Training Archive Bundle, which is a serious starter pack, or you can enroll individually in each one of these archives. You've seen some of the people doing stuff from the basics and intermediate archives. We've got professionals. We've also got edutainment. The latest one of edutainment is animating a scene, series of live streams I did. Some of you got them on YouTube. They're now locked away in the vaults of the training library, animating a scene from start to finish. So we've got how many parts is that? Part 7. We've got all 12, 13, 14 live streams in there for far less than a a games console, or even a cheap mobile phone, not even a powerful, a couple of hundred. So you have all the information here if you wanna become a real animator. So that's that. And of course, today's stream not so much about Real Animator Training Library, but very much about the Gracie Good Bear project. So if you are interested in seeing more of the Gracie Good Bear character, or helping support my work, supporting real animators' works in the AI landscape, hand-drawn frame-by-frame animation. It's getting more scarce in the timelines as they're being saturated by generic AI stuff. Then please do consider supporting AMB Animation with the donation link, or Gracie Good Bear. If you'd like to see Gracie Good Bear, then support that. That's what helped me get this thriller project finished. So thank you very much for that. We do not have any more particular comments in the chat. So before I go, if there's get the mic on now. Before I go, if there's anything that you'd like me to answer, then please do ask away, as I just read through a little bit of World Mayfly's comments. I believe what the devil's name in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus and the movie had a massive impact on me growing up. Probably talking about that Old Nick is the name of the devil. I know a lot of stuff about history, Mesopotamian, Babylonian, Greek, Roman, Italian, the Roman history, but I did not know that Old Nick was the name for the devil. So that was good. I learned something there. Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much for joining me on the live stream. As ever, do your work, not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing's sake. That little bit more that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it, and the skies will clear. And then from your very doubt and suffering will be born the supreme joy of life. For those of you who are about to draw, I salute you, and remember that paper will forever be king. Keep it real, people, and I'll see you all in the next live stream. Bye-bye.